I want to congratulate you and We the World on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
Thank you, Dr. Jane Goodell, for helping We the World and all our partners to celebrate over 20 years of 11 Days of Global Unity. And thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. My name is Birgit Ben-Eli, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and International Outreach for We the World. Today, I'm excited that we will be joined by Malkin and Tezikiah Gabriel, who will be talking about unity, the first theme of the 11 Days of Global Unity. For the full 11 days summit schedule, you can register for free by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org. 11 is a numeral in 11daysofglobalunity.org. There you can see all days summit broadcasts. And at we.net, you can take action with the 11 campaigns for change, subscribe to Trends Magazine, and you can make a contribution to support all this work by going to we.net/donate. Thank you so much. Before we bring in our extraordinary speakers, I want to acknowledge some of our amazing partners who we support and collaborate with during 11 Days of Global Unity and all year round. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, Peace Day Philly, the Unite for Peace Coalition, which includes Unity Earth, the Sign Network, One World, Hubcast Media, the Awakening World, We the World, also Climate Week, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence, Pause the World in Times Square, and Pace Bene Non-Violence Campaign. What an amazing movement representing literally millions of people working to achieve global unity, all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. Now let's bring in our host, Rick Ulfik. Rick Ulfik is the founder of We the World at we.net and the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome to the broadcast, Rick Ulfik.
Thank you, Birgit. And thank you all so much for joining us. Today, our 11 Days theme is unity. The consequences of disunity are affecting our ability to properly address our greatest challenges like climate disruption, poverty and inequality, war, and the erosion of civil rights, law, democracy, and freedom in the USA, which affects the whole world. Much of this disunity is due to an expansion of an us versus them culture of polarization and intolerance, which some leaders have used to gain political power. I think our guests today are working to address this disunity and restore what I would call we consciousness that prioritizes the common good. So let's hear from our first guest.
It is my pleasure to introduce Gary Malkin. Gary Malkin is an Emmy Award-winning composer, keynote speaker and educator, music and health consultant and innovator, artistic music director for events, and producer of We Rise as One, which you will hear about.
Hi, you guys.
Hi. So, yes, we are so excited to hear about the mission that you are on and the importance of unity at this moment and about We Rise as One on September 27th. So, officially, welcome to the broadcast, Gary Malkin.
Thank you, you guys. It's so wonderful to be here and celebrate this beautiful project that you've been doing for so long, Rick. I congratulate you and your team for having the vision and the wisdom and the depth and the sense of service that this has called upon. So thank you so much for being one of the real pioneers of bringing us all together. Thank you for that. What comes to mind first is just a seminal moment in my life. I aspired to be a film composer, started playing piano at 5 years old, and at 11, I got to really get what a film score was by seeing this classic movie called The Miracle Worker, that famous water pump scene with Patty Duke and Anne Bancroft, when she finally came alive, water, when she actually left her world of isolation. And all the while, I'm listening to the score underneath it, because I'd been playing piano for 6 years at the age of 11, and know that music had stepped in as a subliminal energy that awoke some part of me that was not just my mind. And when I was in the beginning of my career, I had the great honor of scoring a film called Dark Circle that was about how nuclear energy was killing people downwind from nuclear power plants. And I was in the back of Alice Tully Hall, my first feature documentary in Lincoln Center at the opening night of the New York Film Festival. And I got to see the moment when this theme written for oboe and orchestra was designed to awaken people from despair to maybe it's up to us rather than the experts to make a difference in this world. And I literally, in my 28-year-old mind, saw the air open up from despair to hope, all because of this music that had come through me. And it was that moment early in my career when I realized, oh my God, this is so much more than entertainment. This is a role that music can play to actually liberate ourselves from the bondage of duality and pain and suffering into a sense of hope and optimism and unity. And that's when I really got that I was in the unity business, when I had the capacity to realize that I could play a role in opening people's hearts. Because the only working heart is a broken heart, is what I love. I've heard a good friend of mine say. So I've been in the business of opening hearts for a very long time, probably since I was 7 years old and started playing show tunes at the piano at family gatherings. When I realized that if I started to play the piano in the middle of fights in my family, slowly what would trickle in is this energy of dissipating the fighting in my family. It's a powerful thing to give a 7-year-old in their home, but I really have been very intimately connected to the way music can bring us into a place of unity by opening our hearts, right? So this vision, We Rise as One, has been as a result of a lifetime of using the art of music to subliminally create aesthetic Trojan horses that can go under and in our bloodstream. You know, the art of cymatics, if any of you heard of it, is the art of science, the art of sound made visible, the science of sound made visible. So when you think about what it does to our bodies when we're listening to music that's disruptive or takes us into stress, just think about the opposite of how music can actually change every cell in our bodies to states that are generative, right? So I really started to focus on 25 years ago, really more explicitly, on how can I actually focus on creating ways for us to open up to higher levels of frequency. And that's when Michael Stillwater and Doris Stillwater and I started this project called Graceful Passages, a companion for living and dying, where we interviewed the wisdom of spoken messages, of helping people deal with our mortality awareness. And that's when I left Hollywood after a lifetime of scoring TV shows like Unsolved Mysteries and many other things, and moved fully into the business of trying to uplift the frequency of the planet through music and immersive media. And these last 25 years, I've actually been passionately engaged with recognizing that we all are being seduced into believing that the only credible form of communication comes from our prefrontal cortex and our linear rational mind. And I started to see what happens when we use music and uplifting wisdom to uplift our frequency into states of consciousness that change the conversation, that change the way we interact, that changes our inner ecosystems to states of peace and coherence that actually have a dramatic impact on how we show up in the world. And that's what really grew me these last 25 years with the success of Graceful Passages, having touched over 1 million people in reframing the dying process as part of the acceptance of the cycle of life, another expression of unity consciousness, right? So I've gone through all these journeys of helping people and looking at what is unity consciousness really. And then one day after COVID, I was asked to perform at the end of a day of doing a workshop that I offer with my co-creative partner, Hope Fitzgerald, who's the author of The Infinity Wave and the author and a beautiful spiritual guide. We both have a passion for that state of surrender that happens when you drop into the awareness that we have no control of when we're going to die. We're all going to disappear. And everyone in this culture avoids talking about the D word, the G word, grief and death. But the truth is, here's a little secret. I've worked and spoken at hospice conferences around the world, and there's nobody more fun than hospice workers because they're so intimately aware of this ride is not a rehearsal and it ain't going to last in our control. We don't know when it's going to end, right? Well, so what can we do to take the wisdom that comes from hospice workers, empathy, compassion, forgiveness, presence, generative consciousness? What can we do to take all of that music in human capacity and bring it into the mainstream? Well, what happened to me that made me could have had a V8, whatever that thing is. I had this epiphany. I was performing after COVID at a church after a day-long workshop on grief literacy. And just to speak a little bit about that, grief literacy, the art of metabolizing our losses into the gifts that turn us into our best expression of who we are. Grief literacy is about what breaks us open, makes us whole. And that consciousness has stayed in hospitals and hospices, and it hasn't been treated on mainstream. It hasn't been treated on concerts. Music's been relegated to an entertainment vehicle, right? So what I want to say is, when we can wake up to the recognition that we're going to go and we have no control over it, the natural human response is, life is precious. And gratitude for that preciousness is the natural result. So here I was performing at a concert. I started a song and it was terrible. I had never performed it since COVID. And I stopped in the middle and went, well, that was awful. Let's start that again. And I thought literally as I said that, I dare AI to do that, which was to demonstrate the vulnerability of our human fallibility, to demonstrate that which only we humans can do, which is to forgive ourselves, be vulnerable, be authentic, and step forward and try again, right? Well, in that moment, I popped out of my body, no kidding, and saw this guy named Gary at the piano, and I saw 150 people, all just one being, one heart. And it was the most incredible experience. And I went, as I near the end of my third quarter, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And that's when the idea came, what if we could create like a prairie home companion, you remember Garrison Keillor's radio show, of lovers of peace and unity and harmony, and integrate all of that with grief literacy and all of it. And that's when the dream came to me. What if we create a kind of roving urban festival that integrated grief literacy, and with those fresh broken hearts that have just been connected to their passion and their purpose by realizing that they're carrying burdens that are no longer necessary to carry, what do we want to do? Celebrate our unity and diversity, that there's so much more that we have in common with one another, regardless of color and age and sexual preference and all of that. And so I tried to launch this thing in Canada, and it fell through about a year ago, not 6 months ago. And I had the brilliant mind to invite Tezikiah and David Wick and Pathways to Peace to say, hey, got this wild idea. How about if we go and do this together? And anybody who's smart would have said that that's only 4 months away. And to God love her, Tezikiah shared with me, well, that's really amazing because I had this vision of something you're going to do for Pathways to Peace in Grace Cathedral. And this partnership was born. And what this is a day-long, normally it's conceived as a 3-day experience, but it's a day-long experience where 70 people who are lucky enough to be in the grief literacy workshop will experience the beautiful metabolizing of grief into joy, gratitude, and presence. And it'll go into a beautiful celebration that I'll leave something for Tezikiah to talk about around wisdom keepers, slam poets, singer-songwriters, hopefully a choir. We're working on it. And it's going to be a way to really deal with this deer in the headlights moment that all of us are in, who have lived in shock to see hostile aggression emerge on a scale that was close to World War II, at least reminding us of that. That's unacceptable. For many of you might know, the most watched documentaries in history are called Thrive. First one was called What on Earth Will It Take? Second one is called This Is What It Takes. And the reason I bring this up is I've written very complex orchestral scores all my life. I mean, these last 30 years, I've done a lot of television and film work. Can you imagine how healing it is for me to realize that there's something magical about going back to the original scene of the crime when I started playing piano at 5 years old? And what I discovered is when we bring forward a wisdom keeper of the caliber that you're about to hear now, Hope Fitzgerald, and we go in the studio together and she doesn't know what she's going to say, I don't know what I'm going to play, and we just improvise, right? What you're about to hear is what I call a transformance. And how you can use this, we have a website where you can actually download these for your own gatherings and conferences, and I can give you that link in a little bit. But I'd like to normally we do this at the beginning of a Zoom call. And the purpose of it is to recognize that in this world, and Rick, I know you know what I'm talking about, and Birgit, most people, in order to be like everyone else, are extremely fragmented in their attention. They're extremely distracted. They're extremely overwhelmed. And in this day and age, what we need, in my estimation, is a unifying way to drop us into what Emmanuel Kunzelman and Laura Rose of the Hollow Movement call the implicate field. The field of the source field, you can call it God and all that is. So I'd like to tone down the energy for a moment. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes. I'd like us to take 3 deep breaths, please. And as you take those breaths, just imagine who you want to feel unified with. If it's the whole wide world, great. If it's just the 5 of us on this call, great. If it's your family, whoever it is you want to feel unified with. But in this moment, how can we align ourselves to radical unity energy? And let's play this. I'll give Angel a chance to bring this up. This is Hope Fitzgerald and me improvising a moment to drop into coherence with as the unified field calls it, the implicate field.
In this moment, we still ourselves. We let all cares and concerns drop away. We move into the core of our beings. And rest. Let us take a collective breath. and a deep invoking of gratitude for this opportunity to gather to become as one. To connect our hearts, our minds, and all of ourselves. In this one precious moment.
What I love about that is, you know how like hyped and how energetic and a little bit of adrenaline I have been for the last 25 minutes. What I love is it just drops everything into me in a way that knows that I can trust that I will be pulled into the unified field. I don't have to push it, right? And what I love in particular is what we use this for is a way, if you notice, before the transformance, people are fragmented, they're uncomfortable with silence together in a room. Like if we were silent at the beginning of that without any preparation, there'd be a little awkwardness, right? But after it, silence is golden. It's eloquent. It's reflective of our true capacity to be in unitive states. And I'm probably a lot easier to listen to right now. So that's, I
You
love it.
couldn't,
Go ahead.
I said you couldn't have described the power of music better than anyone. You know, music reaches where words fail, and I'm sad to say that as loving language and words. But I agree, and it's so wonderfully. You described this so wonderfully, and just the last song you played as well. You're right. You enter a place of peace and quiet and relaxation, and we all listened to you before, but it's true. It's from a different place. You know, it's from a place of peace. It's just the power is just incredible. It's amazing. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. And I wanted to also mention, I've had a 35-year music career, so we're in the same club, kind of. And in a very important way, you mentioned that at a certain point, you disconnected from the Hollywood commercial scene, right? To get more involved in what you're doing now, which is more, focused on unitive music and that kind of thing. So I had the same experience in the 90s. I felt like, what good is a music career if the world is going down the tubes? And that's what motivated me to start We the World in 1998. So I made a similar crossfade, so to speak.
Well, I wish mine were as graceful as a crossfade, Rick. But fortunately for me, it was a 2x4. I had a very serious bicycle accident
Oh
that
no,
threatened my ability to ever play piano again.
no, I
I had
didn't know that.
fractures in my wrist and
Oh
four
my
Oh,
ribs
God.
and 50 stitches, and it was a face plant in concrete with my
Huh.
daughter who got scratched up, not as bad as me. But
Wow.
it was that we had started the Graceful Passages project, and I'd wondered what in me would have to understand death in order to have the responsible opportunity to give people an experience of accepting dying, right?
Wow.
And here's the deal is that peace is impossible without unity, right? But unity is impossible without healing our fierce attachment to separation, which is caused by trauma and loss and wounding. So ironically, I don't think there's any way to avoid that suffering can be and often is the gateway and the catalyst to awakening to our not only the best expression of ourselves, but actually who we came here to be. Sometimes has to crack open in ways that are messy, like birth is messy, right?
It's kind of sad, though, that it needs this experience to come to this conclusion or to the awakening, to have this change, that something significant has to happen in order to create, a healing and unity and uplifting each other instead of tearing each other down.
But Birgit, right? Birgit.
Yeah. Don't worry about that.
No, it's okay. After 25 years of making peace with the beauty of accepting the cycle of life, including death, the cycle, I know what you mean, but I don't feel it's sad anymore because we have karma to pay for all the ways in which we've desecrated each other on the earth, and it needs what it needs. It takes what it takes. And I'm not saying I don't have compassion for suffering. Believe me, I've done things way harder than most. I really hope other people would have to do it. But the resistance that we have for indigenous honor, the oneness of all, and the seven generations of all that, requires the right amount of force to wake us up into what really matters. And it's more important that we wake ourselves up than to even worry about the pain it's causing. Not that I don't have a deep compassion, because it's horrible, what we might have to go through, but it is kind of what's called for. Does that sound cold?
No, I understand what you mean, but what I totally understand, and also understand that obviously you have compassion, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you are doing. But what I meant was, and I'm sure music can do that, to create healing and uplifting before, not everyone experiences, some pain or suffering. And if you look at the world, I mean, and if you not only look at the world, also at history, right? We keep repeating and repeating, and you wonder, how is that possible? So is there any way, despite that all those who did experience suffering or pain and whatever terrible in their life, it doesn't even have to be terrible, it can be minor. It's I wish we wouldn't need that, because not everyone is like that. And it's not enough to create unity. There must be something beyond that can create unity, that it's unavoidable, but yet it will take too much time to really get to this place of unity if we wait for everyone to have experienced something negative in their life.
But and this is why, this is why I believe that music and immersive media created for generative purposes has a destiny to fulfill. And its destiny is exactly what you just said. If we can acknowledge music and immersive media that's created for generative purposes as not just the garnish at the plate of the main course of the steak in the middle of the course, but as the digestive enzyme that allows us to receive the benefits of the nutrition in the steak, this is the moment where our humanity is our competitive advantage. Now that AI has really made it simple for all the other stuff that they've made valuable, that is linear, rational, scientific, and evidence-based, right? Enter the arts as the great emulsifier of the calcification of our wounding and our egoic creations of separation. Wow, what a mouthful that was. Sorry.
No problem.
But well said.
So let's bring our next guest in. So thank you so much, Gary Malkin. And let's hear from Tezikiah
And I just
Gabriel.
need to say that
Yes, go ahead.
This is the badass of badasses. Tezikiah is the most extraordinary woman. I am so lucky to become close to her. Take it away, Tez.
Yes.
Let me introduce Tez first a little bit, so it is my pleasure to introduce Tezikiah Gabriel. Tezikiah Gabriel is the Executive Director of Pathway to Peace, a UN peace messenger organization in consultation with the United Nations, working locally and globally, cross-culturally and intergenerationally to co-create programs that bring greater peace into our world.
I and we are really excited to hear about the mission that you are on, Tez, the importance of unity at this moment. And you can talk about We Rise as One. And welcome to the broadcast, Tezikiah Gabriel.
Thank you. And keeping with the power of music, Angel, could you play Scaling the Universe? Wow. Thank you, Gary, for composing Scaling the Universe, along with so many other compositions. It just is so, just as Transformist brings us inside, for me, Scaling the Universe is so beautiful and expansive, and brings me into that beautiful connection with all that is. So thank you for the great talent you bring to our world. I'm just so honored and delighted to be working with you and Hope on We Rise as One, which is so aligned with our topic today of unity. So we hope everyone that's viewing this will join us on September 27th, at least for the concert, which will be in person at Grace Cathedral, my vision, or on our global broadcast. And thank you, Birgit and Rick, for inviting us into unity. My mission is unity. And I speak about it in terms of expanding unitive consciousness. Gary talked about unity consciousness, which is the same as unitive consciousness. So I'm just so delighted to be here. So let's just step back for a moment and again breathe together. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. How do those words make you feel? Does that famous melody matching those words waft through your mind? Does it stir your soul? John Lennon's Imagine is one of the most beautiful and awe-inspiring songs of all time and of this time. Released in 1971, deep in the heart of the Vietnam War, Imagine calls us to envision a world of peace, a world of unity. So unity is, for me, is a felt experience as well as a call to action. So for me, unity is both being and doing. I am unity, and I do evoke unity in my life, in my relationships, in my interactions, and in my work. When I hear that song, I recognize that in my soul, I crave unity. I believe as human beings, we are born into unity, and that when we begin to remember who we truly are, we embrace and embody unity. We rise as one. I can't speak to unity just as Gary was kind of speaking to unitive consciousness. For me, I can't speak about unity without bringing in unitive consciousness. For me, they are synonymous. And unitive consciousness simply means being aware of our inherent unity, that heart-based knowing of our connection to each other, to all living things, to our beautiful Mother Earth Gaia, and beyond to the universe. Within that, of course, unity brings with it all the emotions of our oneness. We feel it all, right? Because we are one. We feel the emotions of all other living beings and all other things that exist on our beautiful planet and beyond. Driven by love, we embrace and embody peace, compassion, gratitude, kindness, care, and right relationship with all that is. We understand that what harms us harms others, and what helps us helps others. At Pathways to Peace, I say 50% of our work is to expand unitive consciousness, building that field of consciousness where peace can occupy and occur. And the other 50% is to bring that consciousness into our relationships, programs, and practices. I see we rise as one, our beautiful partnership with Hope and Gary, as an immersion into unitive consciousness. We live in troubled times, no doubt. And as Gary so eloquently stated, we mourn with those who are suffering. And we also live in glorious times. The breakthroughs in science now affirm what our sacred texts and wisdom traditions have been telling us for thousands of years, that we are one. As my friend Dr. Joni Carley says, unity is no longer a utopian ideal. It is our existential reality. So with all the evidence to the contrary, why do we continue to see so much divisiveness in our world, so much violence, so much abuse, so much oppression? And why does it appear to so lack unity? And again, to repeat a bit of what Gary spoke to. We now know that all the perceived problems in our world today, and Rick, you mentioned some of them, climate change, wars, hunger, all of our problems in our world today are rooted in this very stubborn myth of separation. For thousands of years, we have embraced and embodied the notion that we are separate from each other, from all living things, from our Mother Earth, and from our universe. We now know that we are part of a universal system, and that system is driven by love, and its connectedness is our reality. So based in science and sacred knowledge, we know separateness is a myth, and it's a very dangerous one. We are smarter now, so it's time to let go of that myth so we can move more fully to embrace and embody unity. I believe everyone here today in the room and beyond is here to transform our world from the narrative of separation into a new narrative of unity. Our simple call to action is to bring our love and light into our world, for that is our task to do. So my call to action today is really a call to self-care. Please do not let yourself be immobilized by what appears to be a world on fire. Instead, remember who you are. Hold tight to a vision of a new earth built on unity, and bring your light and love into all that you are and all that you do. You may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. So thank you.
Wow, that was wonderful, Tez. And I'm so happy that you mentioned the call to action that you're thinking of. And maybe we can invite Gary to join us because, and Tez, that was just wonderful. Thank you so much. We are promoting the hashtag urgency for action, which is, it's urgency and then the number 4 and then the word action. So hashtag urgency for action. And we're trying to promote that given all of the problems that we're very aware of in the world, and all the things that we, like you, Tez, and Gary, and all of us are doing to bring us to more unity. So, Tez, thank you for your contribution for the call to action. Gary, did you want to add a call to action? And then I would love to hear from Birgit, and I have my own call to action as well. But go ahead, Gary.
First of all, I just want to say, Tez, that's the first time I saw you do your thing like that. I'm in awe, and I'm so grateful, and I have even more gratitude for having the great gift of being in partnership with you. That was just a beautiful address. The call to action that comes to mind spontaneously is that we are all potentially musical blessing units because we all inherently can sing. And singing is a very direct way, the way being in nature is to coming into unitive states. But what I want to say is that if you look at the art, the science of cymatics, the art of sound, the art of sound made visible, and you think about its effect on our cells and our fluids and our tissues, if we saw the shapes that were catalyzed by the amount of chaos and fragmentation that we're subjected to sonically every day, I just want to remind people that we have control over our ecosystem. So if you're used to the familiarity of a television playing constantly just because of the drone of comfort, which I've been guilty of myself, or you're aware of the fact that there's something sound-wise that's something you can control, there is such a power in making friends with beauty and coherence and peace and stillness in all the ways you can imagine. Music, the right kind of music, the right kind of audio and video can change things. Someone told me that you can move a mood, change your mood in 20 seconds. And music has the greatest capacity. And people, when they scroll, you can actually change your state of coherence to something really not productive in 20 seconds. We're very fragile, right? So the call to action is similar to what Tezikiah says. Inner peace starts from within, and managing the sensitivity that you've possibly become less aware of at how impacted we are in more ways than we realize, and start to treat yourself as if you're treating your little child, because that little child inside that lives in us from the moment we're born to the moment we die, you can be sure he or she notices when things are fragmented. We might not because we're used to the chaos, but believe me, our inner child never misses a beat on that one. That's my call to action. Take care of yourself and your environment.
Thank you, Gary. And how about you, Birgit? Do you have a call to action you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really both of you. It was such a pleasure. First of all, I have to thank you and to listen to what you said. And I couldn't have said it better. And I'm not able to say this better. Tess already mentioned unity consciousness, that we are aware that it means being interconnected, interdependent, and inseparable. But it doesn't mean to erase individuality, but celebrating the diversity as a whole.
Yes.
And you both mentioned also, Tess, unity is being and doing. And Gary, you also said, how we show up in this world. So my call to action is quite simple. Build bridges, be the voice of hope, and beyond this, be the hands who heal. So which means being and doing.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that's great. Thank you, Birgit. Okay, and my call to action, and Tez, you know all about this. We call it the We Power campaign, and you've been a part of it, a big part of it, Tez. It's about the power of we. Millions of people coming together to transform our society so it begins to prioritize the common good. And to help us launch this campaign, the We Power campaign, just go to we.net/We Power campaign. Very simple. we.net/We Power campaign.
And our site is globalwisdomfoundation.org/We Rise, or We Rise as one. Both work.
Great. And so can you say that again, Gary?
Yeah. So this will bring all the links, will bring us to the ability, because no one's going to be turned away for lack of funds. And so you'll have the opportunity to choose how you want to register for the event, whether it's a global streaming anywhere in the world or the actual live event. Just press the button and you'll have the opportunity to donate for the event to the Pathways to Peace site. And it's globalwisdomfoundation.org, my new nonprofit that is so lucky to be with its big sister, pathways to peace /we rise. All right. globalwisdomfoundation.org /we rise.
Perfect. And Tez, do you want to give your links as well?
Pathwaystopeace.org is our website. You can learn about all the programs, including, you'll see this poster, We Rise as One, on our homepage, and can link to that, what is going to be a totally life-changing and transformative event. And I would just like to thank both of you for this invitation, and thank those beyond this room who may be viewing this. And we would leave you with love. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. And I'm so excited that We Rise as One is going to be after 11 days of global unity from September 11th through the 21st. Then people can be part of We Rise as One. Go ahead, Gary.
And also, Rick, what we noticed, which was a God wink, was the 99th day of Peace Through Unity, which is an initiative of Unity Earth. Happens to be September 27th.
Exactly.
And that I got goosebumps, you know.
And the reason that is important is because we celebrate the International Day of Peace, a UN designated holiday on September 21st, with 3 billion people around the world joining us. And we commemorate the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, which is on October 24th. So we're kind of in the middle there. And of course, the United Nations was birthed in San Francisco and connected with Grace Cathedral. So it all comes into this beautiful, graceful flow of energy that we are connecting with. So it's bound to be amazing.
Indeed. Thank you.
Wow. Well, that's great. So this has been a truly amazing conversation. Thank you, Gary, Malkin, Tezikiah Gabriel, and Birgit Ben-Eli so much. And thank all of you for watching this and for being part of 11 Days of Global Unity. To get involved, please go to we.net, because it's all about we, right? And this is our symbol for a W with we, right? It's all about we. So let's go from having a me society, that's an M, to having a we society, right?
Yes.
And that's why we launched we.net. So together we can create a world that works for all. So much love to you and all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Birgit.
And thank you, Angel, for making this all
Thank you,
possible.
Angel.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Angel.